The family dinner had been going exactly as I'd expected, right up until Dad stood and clinked his glass like he was giving a wedding toast. "Everyone, I have an announcement about the family estate," he began, his voice carrying that authoritative tone he used when he wanted no arguments. "Your mother and I have been discussing the future and we've made some important decisions." I set down my fork slowly, watching the faces around the table. My brother Marcus sat straighter, his wife Ashley barely containing her excitement. My sister Victoria smiled knowingly like she'd already heard this speech. And me, 32-year-old Lauren, the middle child, the quiet one, I just waited. "The main house will go to Marcus," Dad continued, gesturing toward the Victorian mansion we were currently sitting in. "He has the family to fill it. 3 kids need space. Victoria will get the lake cabin since she loves it so much. And Lauren." He paused, looking at me with what I supposed he thought was kindness. "You'll get the downtown condo. Perfect for a single woman with your lifestyle." My lifestyle. Code 4. No husband, no kids, just my little business. "The rental properties will be split between Marcus and Victoria to manage," Mom added. "They'll need the income for their families. Lauren, you're doing fine with your tech work." Around the table, everyone nodded like this made perfect sense. Marcus was already discussing renovation plans for his house. Victoria was talking about holiday gatherings at her cabin. Ashley was photographing the dining room, probably already planning her redecorating. No one asked me what I thought. No one asked if I agreed. They divided up the estate like I was a child who couldn't possibly understand adult matters. "Well," Dad looked at me expectantly. "Aren't you going to say anything?" I pulled out my phone and checked the time. "Actually, I think someone's at the door." As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Dad frowned. "We're not expecting anyone." "I am," I said quietly, standing. "That would be the courier from Judge Morrison's office." The room went silent. I walked to the front door and opened it to find a professional courier holding a thick envelope and a clipboard. "Lauren Hayes." "That's me. Documents from the Superior Court. I need signatures from everyone listed here." He glanced at his clipboard. "Robert Hayes, Margaret Hayes, Marcus Hayes, and Victoria Hayes. They're all here. Come in." I led the courier into the dining room where my family sat frozen in confusion. He began laying out documents on the table. Official court papers with Judge Morrison's seal, property deeds, legal declarations. "What is this?" Dad demanded, his face reddening. "This is reality," I said calmly. "You just divided up an estate that doesn't exist. At least not the way you think it does." Marcus grabbed the nearest document. "Deed transfer. Hayes Family Properties LC. Current owner Lauren Hayes." He looked up confused. "This must be a mistake." "It's not." I gestured for the courier to continue laying out papers. "What you're looking at are the deeds to every property you just divided up. This house, the lake cabin, the downtown condo, and all 6 rental properties." "That's impossible," Mom said, her voice shaking. "These properties have been in the family for generations." "They were in the family." Past tense. I picked up one of the documents. 7 years ago, Dad's business went bankrupt. You were drowning in debt, facing foreclosure on everything. You were going to lose it all. Dad's face had gone pale. Mom was gripping the edge of the table. "I had just sold my first software company," I continued. "Made $3.2 million from the acquisition. I was 25 years old with more money than I knew what to do with. So when you came to me, desperate, begging for help." I paused, looking at each of them. "I bought everything. All of it. Paid off your debts, cleared the mortgages, saved the family properties." "You said you'd loan us money," Dad whispered. "No. You assumed I'd loan you money. I actually said I'd help, and I did. By purchasing the properties through my LLC." I pulled out another document. "I've been managing everything for 7 years. The rental income you thought was yours? That was me giving you an allowance from my properties. The property taxes you thought you were paying? I've been covering them. Every repair, every expense, all me." Victoria's voice was barely audible. "But we live here. As my tenants. Rent-free, which was incredibly generous considering market rates." I handed the courier his clipboard and he began collecting signatures. "These documents are court-certified confirmations of ownership. Judge Morrison expedited them when I explained my family was attempting to distribute my assets without my consent. This is a misunderstanding, Mom said desperately. You thought wrong. And you never asked. Not 7 years ago when I helped, and not tonight when you divided up my properties like I didn't exist. Marcus stood abruptly. You let us believe we owned these places. I never said you did. You assumed. Just like you assumed I was just playing with computers while I built a multi-million-dollar business. Just like you assumed the little condo you were giving me was charity, when I actually own it along with everything else. Ashley's face had gone from excited to horrified. We can't afford to rent a house this size. Market rate for a property like this is about $8,000 a month, I said. But don't worry. I'm not charging you that. I'm charging you nothing because you're leaving. What? Dad's voice cracked. I pulled out another set of documents. These are eviction notices. 30 days for everyone currently living in my properties rent-free. You can't just throw us out. Victoria shrieked. I can and I am. You've been living rent-free in my properties while planning to take them from me. The next morning my phone exploded with messages. Angry texts from Marcus, desperate voicemails from Mom, even a few from extended family who'd heard the news. Then came the call from my attorney Marcus Chin. Judge Morrison wants to see everyone in his chambers. Your father filed an emergency petition claiming elder abuse and property fraud. I'd expected this. When? Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bring all your documentation. Judge Morrison's chambers were smaller than I'd expected. My family sat on one side with their attorney, some guy Dad had found who looked fresh out of law school. I sat on the other side with Marcus Chin, who'd been practicing real estate law for 20 years. Mr. Hayes, Judge Morrison began, looking at my father. You've claimed your daughter defrauded you out of family properties. Let's review the facts. Dad's attorney jumped in. Your Honor, the Hayes family properties have been held for 3 generations. My client had temporary financial difficulties and his daughter took advantage. I've reviewed the documents, the judge interrupted. 7 years ago, Mr. Hayes was in bankruptcy proceedings. All properties were in foreclosure. His daughter purchased all properties at fair market value, paid off all debts, cleared all mortgages. Are these facts disputed? No, Your Honor, but the family believed. What the family believed is irrelevant. What matters is what actually occurred. Judge Morrison looked at my father. Mr. Hayes, did your daughter commit fraud? She let us think we still owned. Did she ever tell you that you owned the properties? Dad hesitated. Not exactly, but... Did you ever ask her directly about ownership? Silence. Did you pay property taxes on these properties? We thought we were. That's not what I asked. Did money leave your bank account for property taxes? No. Did you pay for major repairs, insurance, or any expenses associated with property ownership? Lauren handled all that. Because she owns the properties. Judge Morrison set down his papers. Mr. Hayes, your daughter saved you from complete financial ruin. She purchased your properties legally, let you live in them rent-free for 7 years, and managed everything at her own expense. And your response was to attempt to redistribute her assets without her consent. We're her family. Mom burst out. The court documents show your daughter has a net worth of approximately $8 million. How much have you contributed to her success? No one answered. She built her wealth through her own work, saved your family from bankruptcy, and provided free housing for 7 years. What exactly do you believe you're entitled to? Dad's attorney tried again. Your Honor, we're requesting the court invalidate the eviction notices. They'll have 30 days to find housing, which is standard. And given that they've paid no rent for 7 years, they should have substantial savings. Judge Morrison looked at my parents. How much have you saved? The silence answered everything. You spent it, the judge said flatly. Lived beyond your means because your daughter was subsidizing your lifestyle. And now you want the court to force her to continue. She's our daughter. Dad's voice cracked. And you're her parents. Parents who apparently never noticed their daughter became a multimillionaire. Parents who were planning to give away her properties without her consent. Judge Morrison closed the file. The eviction notices stand. The property ownership is confirmed. This case is dismissed. In the hallway, Marcus caught up to me. Lauren, wait. Can we talk? Your 30 days start from the eviction notice date. I know. He ran his hand through his hair. I didn't know about any of it. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? He opened his mouth then closed it. We both knew the answer. You would have asked for more, I said quietly. If you'd known I had money, every problem would have become my problem to solve. I would have gone from invisible to ATM. We didn't mean to make you feel invisible. Yes, you did. Every time you praised Marcus Jr.'s Little League game but forgot to ask about my company acquisition. Every time you planned family events without inviting me. Every time you introduced me as our daughter who works with computers while Marcus was our son, the operations manager. I pressed the elevator button. I was invisible until you needed money. The elevator arrived. I stepped in. Lauren, will you ever forgive us? I thought about 7 years of supporting them silently. A lifetime of being overlooked. Tonight's dinner where they divided up my properties like I wasn't even there. Maybe, I said as the doors began to close. But forgiveness doesn't mean I go back to being invisible. It doesn't mean you get to live in my houses. And it definitely doesn't mean you get to treat me like the family backup plan. 28 days later my family moved out. Marcus found a townhouse rental. Victoria moved into a small apartment. My parents found a senior living community with affordable units. I hired a property manager for the main house and put it on the rental market. A lovely couple with twin teenagers moved in at $7,500 a month. The lake cabin became a vacation rental generating steady income. 3 months after the eviction, I received a handwritten letter from Dad. Dear Lauren, Judge Morrison was right. I should have thanked you instead of suing you. You saved us when we had nothing and we repaid you by trying to take everything. You were never invisible to me. You were scary. So smart, so capable, so far beyond anything I understood. I didn't know how to relate to you, so I pretended you were still the little girl who needed her father. I'm proud of you. I should have said it sooner. We're learning to live within our means. Your mother is working part-time. I'm consulting. We're figuring it out. I see you now, Lauren. Finally. Love, Dad. I read the letter 3 times sitting in my office at my company headquarters. I thought about being invisible, being overlooked, being dismissed. And I thought about being seen. I picked up my phone and sent a text. Coffee next week? Dad's response came immediately. I'd like that. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting or returning to the way things were. It was about moving forward with clear boundaries and earned respect. They'd have to earn their way back. Not with apologies, but with consistent respect and acknowledgement of who I actually was. Not invisible. Not a backup plan. Not a piggy bank. Just Lauren Hayes. Business owner. Property investor. Self-made millionaire. And maybe, eventually, daughter and sister again. On my terms.